the MLB, the Hall of Fame, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens officially not in. I think they go off the ballot now. And we had Tom Verducci pop up and pen an incredible piece of work.
It's beautiful.
He said in this piece, he said, talking about Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens not getting the majority, the 75% majority to make it into the Hall of Fame. He said, in fact, for the past 6 years, most voters believe Bonds and Clemens should be in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
A majority is not enough. That's the beauty of the process.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the beauty of the process. When a majority of people and everyone who watched them play think they should be in the Hall of Fame, and a bunch of fucking loser old writers are holding it up. That's basically the worst process.
You're just describing the Electoral College for baseball.
Yes.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's really dumb. Barry Bonds should be Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer.
He's the best baseball player of all time.
You could say that Barry Bonds should be the first. If you were to get rid of everybody in the Hall of Fame, Barry Bonds should be the first person re-inducted into the Hall of Fame.
I just don't understand the hypocrisy is so blatant with these fucking writers, and Tom Verducci at the top of the list. Like you vote. I looked it up, right? So amphetamines and greenies, which are just talked about openly and basically talked about in like a poetic way, where people say, "Oh, remember the days when we just would take speed to hit baseballs?" And people are like, "Oh, those are performance enhancing drugs." I mean, Darryl Strawberry once said, when you take amphetamines, the ball looks so big, it's like you could hit anything. They also, the innings pitched, this is my favorite because I know Tom Verducci's voted for some of these guys. There was, so there's 300 innings pitched, right? Has not happened in like basically the last 30 years. And it spiked innings pitched, 300 innings pitched in a season. They had in the 70s, 60s and 70s and early 80s, like there were guys pitching 300 innings on the regular because of amphetamines. It coincided with amphetamine use.
Yep.
And those guys are in the Hall of Fame, and I have no problem with it. But then they talk about the steroid era, and they sound like such losers. Oh, yeah, not to mention the fact the steroid era literally saved Tom Verducci's job.
So
it saved baseball.
In the mid-'90s, baseball was dead. After the players, was it a strike or a lockout back in the 90s?
It was
I think it was a lockout.
Yeah.
It was a lockout back in the mid-90s.
They played half the season.
And they brought in replacement players, and baseball was dead. The fans were pissed off. They didn't want to be around for the millionaires versus billionaires war. They felt like they were used. What happens over the course of the next 3 years? Oh, yeah, Mark McGwire starts hitting the moon with baseballs on a regular basis. Brady Anderson knocks 50 home runs in a season.
Sammy Sosa and McGwire summer saved baseball.
Yeah.
Tom Verducci probably wrote a million articles about how incredible that story was. He probably got a new contract from Sports Illustrated based on the fact that baseball popularity was booming and he was a baseball writer.
Yeah.
And now he's basically saying these guys don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, even though Major League Baseball has not stricken any of their records.
Well, I would also like to point out that those guys never tested positive for steroids.
They never got suspended. They never got all their records stand. So what are we doing here?
They're the best cheaters of all time. Barry Bonds, you can make the argument, Barry Bonds is the best cheater that has ever existed. Not only is he the best baseball player that ever played, even before he was taking the juice, the cream, and the clear, Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer. Then he started cheating, but he started getting away with it.
Yeah.
Never got caught. Not a single time was his piss flagged. He was only named in certain reports by people as someone that received steroids or received
also his head got really
HGH,
big.
and his head swelled up to like the size of a 4-ball tire. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that you can hold that against somebody if they never actually got caught for it.
Well,
they got away with it.
It's crazy because Major League Baseball, all their records stand.
Yeah,
they stand, and they never got suspended, and yet a bunch of fucking old baseball writers are getting to play like judge, jury, executioner on baseball history. The whole thing makes me laugh because those guys saved baseball. Steroid users saved baseball. All these writers wrote about it. They talked about how incredible it was, the most incredible summer of all time. Now we're 25 years later, and the same writers are essentially trying to ruin baseball by being old, stuck-up assholes about a sport that needs younger audiences.
It's a very specialized skill, more so than any other type of journalism, to be a baseball writer.
Yes.
Like baseball writer, I feel like you're born a baseball writer. You don't just become one. It's in your blood. You come out of the womb with a fedora on, a Diet Coke in your hand, and just a sense of righteous,
a little pot belly,
indignation.
Tommy Bahama shirt.
You go around getting scoops from your classmates in elementary school, turning in your notes to the principal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different breed to be
high blood pressure.
You got chest hair and you're pre-diabetic when you're born.
You come out eating a T-bone steak from St. Louis.
Yeah, and you worship at the altar of Bob Costas every Sunday.
Jake, did you know was there a baseball writers class
it should be a special major.
There was a sports writers class. I didn't take it.
Did you know any baseball writers? We're not asking actual baseball writers, but kids that were like, that could be a. Is the answer you?
No.
Do you think they should be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yes.
Even though they cheated and broke the rules. Just drilling down.
Even though all these kids that watched them, all their memories have been stripped.
I wouldn't say that.
Even though
you're down a rabbit hole of the homers.
No, they've been deleted off of YouTube.
I'd say worse than that, Jake. The youngsters were shown role models that it was okay to use drugs.
Maybe that's why our society as a whole is falling apart right now. All those kids that grew up on these home run dingers are now coming of age and rotting culture.
I think they deserve to be in.
You still?
We're just,
yes.
You know what? We're writing a baseball column right now. Isn't it strange that the one thing that could keep our society from falling apart at the seams is baseball?
I want
column.
I want someone to actually connect that, like how we're in a very weird part of American history, and social media and economic whatever it may be, because of the kids that grew up watching Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire.
Mm-hmm.
Someone make that connection.
I'm sure that it's out there.
Yeah. All right. So before we get to Hot Seat Cool Throne, though, I did want to. One of my favorite things to do is look up Barry Bonds' stats. He's got the best Pro Baseball Reference page of all time. But just throwing a couple out there because they're just fun to say. Barry Bonds has 1,000 more walks than strikeouts in his career. 1,000 plus more. He had 575 plate appearances against Hall of Famers, and he hit .292, and he had just 7 strikeouts against Hall of Famers. 41 times he was walked with the bases empty. Makes no sense.
It's crazy. And
he intentionally walked with the bases empty.
He was also intentionally walked with the bases full.
Correct.
More than once.
Correct. 26.3% of all Barry Bonds at bats ended with a home run or a walk.
That's pretty good.
And then from 2001 to 2004, 39.5% of all Barry Bonds at bats ended with a home run or a walk.
You just didn't pitch to the guy.
And then here's another one that's just this one's insane. From 2001 to 2004, Barry Bonds played 573 baseball games. He reached base in 539 of them. 94% of the games he played in that stretch, he got on base.
Holy shit.
It's crazy. It's like that guy should be in the Hall of Fame.
They should name the Hall of Fame after Barry Bonds.
You can maybe put, a wing that explains the steroid era. I don't give a fuck. Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer. End of story. Fuck Tom Verducci. I would love to have Tom Verducci on to just be like, what's your problem?
He could actually just straight up start his own Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm doing my own. Who's coming with me?
I hope I would love for Barry Bonds to come back for like a day and play in a game to reset his clock. So we can really keep the pressure on him.
So what happens now that he's not going to be automatically on the ballot? Could he get written in?
I think it's something where like now he goes to the old timers ballot or something where he could eventually get in, but they essentially just need enough of these old idiots to die and then young people to take over for him.
Because wouldn't it be the most baseball writers thing ever if they just did this to send a message and they kept him off the ballot kept him out of the Hall of Fame for this long, and now that the message has been sent, they gallantly all write his name in next year to let him into the Hall of Fame.
That would be like a Rudy version where they're just all putting their fucking jerseys down.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you have proven yourself worthy of making our Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Young Barrel.
He negged them into We're gonna keep you out for the 15. Now, only now, when we
say it's time.
Yes. It's a fucking museum. It's a museum. Yeah. That's the craziest part. It's a museum that tells the history of a sport, of America's pastime.
It's probably the best museum to go to with your dad, though.
Oh, yeah.
I would say.
Cooperstown's fun.